Hello and welcome to the Apex Racing League GT Team Championship here at Daytona, round 1 of the championship. Over the next 4 weeks we are going to be showing you 8 team events, teams of 2 drivers will be tackling 4 iconic circuits to decide who is the best in the championship. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is Daniel Handover. Sam Kuma is on the cameras, and Daniel, I am very looking forward to this championship. This is pretty much the 6th Sunday evening league we have hosted in the past 15 months or so. It's taken quite a lot of effort to get this up, but over 100 drivers on the grid for tonight, 50 teams. This has gone very well from our side to get so many sign-ups. Really looking forward to this. I can't remember the last time I was more excited for a race.
To be fair, no, excuse me. No, there's some really good. This is going to be shaping up to be a fantastic championship, I am sure. I do love GT racing, as I'm sure everyone else watching and everyone that's driving. So to have 100 drivers for this championship is going to be fantastic. I can't wait for this to get underway.
A lot of new teams to the series as well. We'll try to keep you up to date with it as the races progress. There'll be plenty to learn for Daniel in particular. I mean, I've commentated on this for a while. I'm an encyclopedia on this, but we'll try to get you spectators up to date with everything that's going on as well. But just a quick rundown of the format then. And so in each race, we've got 4 races over 4 weeks. We've got this round, then we've got Silverstone, Spa and Suzuka. And in each round, the races last for 80 minutes. And the drivers are limited to 75% fuel. And in these cars, that means that you can go about 45 minutes on a tank of fuel. You've got to run 2 drivers during the 80 minutes, and each driver has to do at least 10 laps. So really the format of the series will be everyone will have to come in between the 35 and 40 minute marks. I'll probably be very close to the 40 minute mark for this round, being that it's Daytona and a high fuel consumption circuit, and there'll be a driver stop at that pit stop. Although, of course, we're saying all this, we haven't had a race like this in the past, so there's always potential for a bit of a surprise. Lots of new teams involved in this one, many very high iRated drivers, and hopefully you'll stick with us on Apex Racing TV over the next few weeks to see who will become the champion. We're currently in the practice session, so the drivers are just getting used to the circuit. It's going to be pretty warm out there, and then we'll get a 10-minute qualifying session, and that will be open qualifying. Something else which is new for this season, open qualifying, not solo qualifying, and that can be very chaotic with the drafts, Daniel. And I think this is a bit of a baptism of fire, because this circuit, extremely high speed, so accidents are potential, and of course that turn 1 as well involves a lot of accidents. Qualifying, the draft is going to be really important, and then the fuel is only just going to get to halfway point. The drivers may have to fuel save, so I think after this round they'll be thinking they'll be quite pleased to leave Florida once and for all.
Well, exactly. I think there's Daytona, while it is a half of the track is pretty much flat out. You've got to everyone's got to understand that there are a lot of tactics that can be played around Daytona. Fuel saving, obviously, as we have said, is a massive one. So your fuel saving, I would not be expected, or I would expect drivers to, you're probably going to find there may not be as much racing as potentially we would have initially thought, maybe at the front, because what we're going to find is drivers are going to try and just sit behind people. If they can save fuel, potentially the pole sitter, this might not be an optimum. You almost want to qualify second or third, and then sit behind the person who's in front and just save the fuel that you can. It's surprising how much you can save, especially around somewhere like Daytona. So I'm interested to keep an eye on it and see how the drivers play that to their advantage. But I think, yes, this is going to be a breath of fresh air when Daytona is finished, and then we move on to the next round. So no, but really excited to see how drivers start to adapt to the changes, and also just adapt to how they're going to work out in terms of a strategy perspective.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully they've done their work, because the 75% fuel limit does make these races a little bit more complex than they otherwise would be. You can see on the side of your screen the timing tower. You can see the different colours on the screen, And so the purple this season is going to indicate the pro drivers, and the ready pink. We go for very odd colours in this championship. It is a little bit of a reputation for us, where we can't quite pinpoint what colour it is, but you can kind of say it for yourself. It's kind of red. That means amateur, and also the numbers are supposed to indicate that. However, some of the teams have not set their numbers correctly, and the penalty for that is mockery from us in the commentary box. So any team you can see there with only 2 digits on their number will be getting some anti-favoritism from us today. The ones who have got 3 digits hopefully will come out to be the race winners. But you can see this is just practice, so not totally representative of what the pace is going to be like, but a few amateurs really overperforming. Those ratings are subject to change and are based on the driver's iRatings. So about 2,800 is the cut-off between the professional and the amateur drivers. So yeah, we've just got 30 more seconds to go, and then we will jump into qualifying, and we've already spoken a little bit about it, but even the outlap I think is going to be a little bit chaotic, to be honest, Daniel. You want to be out there nice and quick, but at the same time you don't want to be right up the front. I'm not sure how big a Formula 1 fan you are, but Monza 2019 flashbacks come to mind, where no one wanted to be at the head of the train.
I do remember that very, very well, as probably everyone. Even if you're not interested that much in Formula 1, you know about that incident, don't you? And you know about the Monza 2019, which was, I mean, let's be honest, that was probably not one of F1's finest moments. But it goes to show, though, how much of an aero can make a difference. Obviously, you know, with F1 cars having so much more aero, you also have to take into account that GT cars, yes, there are less, you know, they do run less aero, a lot less aero. However, it is still going to play a part. So, well, we can see here, everyone is just trying to get a banker lap in. I imagine that's what probably most people are going to try and do. They're going to try and get that banker lap in, at least get a time on the board, and then they're going to start to work out if they can try and sit behind people, slingshot people down the straight, or something or other. So I'm very, very excited. It's going to be a very busy qualifying session, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. Going to be a lot of drivers trying to get out straight away. And that is a stream of cars currently leaving the pit lane. So it's Aaron Powell, one of the front drivers, although yeah, Kenny Rusen's also a little bit ahead. So yeah, they're all streaming through. And of course, if you can be with your teammates as well, that will be of great use. Do you think the qualifying is going to be particularly important this season, or do you think 18 minutes is enough time to kind of get back the positions? How much practice do you think the drivers would have put into this qualifying set?
I think, to be fair, you've always got to have a race, something like, you know, a race of this we had a little bit. A race like this, I think, you know, I mean, getting on for 2 hours, qualifying is probably not. It won't make that much of an impact, as opposed to if you have a look at, you know, a 45-minute sprint or a 40-minute sprint race. There's definitely, you know, a potentially poorer qualifying session does not necessarily mean you're completely out of the race. I think it's more so just like a psychological benefit if you can qualify well. You know, it puts you in that good frame of mind that you've always got. You know, if you get a good qualifying position, you've got that good qualifying there. You've got that just generally positive mindset before even going into the race, which is, and in some cases, can be a massive advantage. Which over 2 hours, that can play its part. But if drivers do have slightly more of a you know, poor qualifying than they were expecting, what they need to do really is just push it to one side, forget about it, move on to the race. Do not dwell on qualifying at all. It's only 10 minutes. You know, it's only 10 minutes. It's a 2-hour race. There's so much more time to be had in the whole 2 hours race. Anything can happen. We look at a 45-minute race, how much action isn't there, let alone a 2-hour race. Yeah,
you're certainly right. Yeah, a lot of things can occur, and so yeah, don't get too downhearted. Go your way early on. Currently it's Pacific Sim Sports on the top, so you can see what the numbers do me. Come on, I graduated primary school. The letters in the brackets, that indicates the initials for the drivers. Something new that we're just doing. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but whenever I jump it, whenever I watch like an endurance race, I always think, well, who's driving for that? I don't know. So that might help us. We'll see how it works. If it's really annoying, then we might get rid of it for future rounds. But for now, you can see the initials for each of the drivers, and that might just make it a little bit easier to follow the racing along. But if you get to the end of the 80 minutes and your eyes are bleeding, then let us know, and we will take it away for the next race. At least we've got nice numbers, which do look very good, I must say, next to the drivers' names. By the way, whoever qualifies, or whoever gets your fastest qualifying time, must start the race, which is another little rule that we have. So, which is what some series follow, but it should mean that we have the fastest guys go first, and then the slower guys go second. There was a little bit of a debate about what you should do in that situation, Daniel. Do you go for the fastest driver first? I mean, let's take qualifying out of this. Do you want to take the fastest driver first and maybe get track position and then let the slower guy in? Or do you go the other way? I mean, I'm personally one for the slow driver first and then the fast driver. Because in the early stages, you're going to be fighting so much, the fast driver can't really show their pace, whereas by the end, it's going to be a bit more spread out. But there's a lot of different opinions when it comes to that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's really two ways to look at it. You know, how do you look at it? That's the biggest thing is, yes, you've got a 50-50 chance of it working out or not. I mean, personally, I would definitely chuck, if you know that you can get a good qualifying position, I would definitely chuck the fastest driver in first, or the one that you, maybe the one that's slightly more confident in qualifying or something like that. Personally, you want to get track position, especially with the amount of cars that we've got on grid. If you know someone that can put it on pole, I would personally go with that choice. If you're a bit further down the field, then maybe not so much. You know, again, it really depends on how confident you're going to be at the start of the race and how confident you are in qualifying. So we're going to probably see a couple of, you know, a fair few teams. I doubt it's going to be split down the middle with what people are going to choose, but I feel there's going to be some variety on what teams actually choose for qualifying.
Yeah, I think so. And well, hopefully that is the case, because if we've got, you know, varying speeds at different points of the race and just coming back maybe later on in the event, that could be a lot of fun. Triple A. Well, actually, I'll get the points and stats sheet up, just see who has got the best iRatings out of the teams out there. Of course, EVSR currently up in third place, Tom McMahon and James Saltz. They normally would go in as the favourites. EVSR, oh, thanks Sam Kume. Sam, does that come up with the team iRating, or is that the driver iRating, do you know? Driver iRacing thing, but that still is a very good representation of how good the teams are. But usually EVSR would go in as the favourites, because Tom McMahon has won the last 2 drivers' championships, and EVSR have won the last 2 teams' championships as well. However, Manatee have got the highest I-rated team. I believe there's a couple of other teams as well, a little bit further down, who have got extremely high I-rating. Ignium Esports as well, you can see down there, one of their drivers with 6,000 I-rating. 3 guys, no team as well. They've got, guess what, 3 guys, and they're all very high I-rating, but they're a little bit further down. We really don't know who's going to be the favourite here, but it's impressive that EVSR, despite not having the highest I-rating out there, are still up there in the order, up there in 3rd place.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be very, very close indeed. There's, you know, not that much left of qualifying. Is there going to be people that are going to make the mad dash, or are they going to sit back and just go, do you know what? You know, let's not worry about it. Let's not, you know, focus more on the race. Again, it's a 10-minute qualifying. You've got a 2-hour race. What's people's thoughts are going to be? Probably maybe at this stage you're going to get some people that's going to go, let's just focus on the race now, make sure we understand and make sure we know what we're going to do, and then progress through to that. So, yeah, we could very well see some more lap times being put on. There's some very, very quick lap times. There's some, you know, really quick lap times that are being posted. Is currently is going to be beaten. You know, what's that? A 140.25 is currently the pole time. Is that going to be beaten? It would be interesting. It's very, very close. I don't know, Sam. What are your thoughts? You know, obviously this grid more so than myself. You know, what's your gut instinct? Do you reckon that's actually going to be beaten?
Well, in practice, I think Manatee managed to get into the 39s, and they were about 3 tenths clear, so I think they might improve. Vuga and Evers are improving, though, in their recent laps. So it'll be tight. Then, in fact, Zebras are just on pit exit, and also Manatee as well. So they'll have one more attempt. I think we're going to see some very quick times to come in right at the end of the session. As Razaholics, I don't know what kind of addiction that is. Addiction to Raza? I don't know. But that is 30th position at the moment for them. No improvement, but you can see how the top four are all on outlaps, all pro teams. DRS Wave Italy, the top of the amateur teams at the moment. And all the teams who actually set their numbers correctly are in the top 14, which is fantastic to see. I don't know, maybe that gives you some extra horsepower or something. But well done to them. Vulcan Sim Racing, 200ths off pole position. That is an extremely close qualifying at the moment, but it's still Manatee just on pole position. But I don't think I've ever seen such a close gap between the top 3 teams.
That's very, very close indeed. I think this is also going to show how close this racing is going to be for 2 hours. We've got 2 hours of this sound, 2 hours of this sort of racing. This is going to be non-stop, isn't it? Just looking at the qualifying time, this is going to be absolutely non-stop. As we see, that looks to be Jesse Webb's just put in a 1:40.24. So another very, very quick lap. Again, this is just getting closer and closer and closer. Corvette's currently leading the top 3, which is interesting. We've got a Porsche there in 4th as well. But it seems to be the favourite at the moment is the Corvette.
Yeah, the Corvette is decently competitive, but from what I know at least, the Porsche and the BMW still have the edge. So that is interesting that the Corvette has been able to take the top 3 places at the moment. But yeah, those top 4 times are so close. EVSR is well in 5th place. They are on a lap at the moment. I'll try to keep you up to date with all the sector times coming in. Watch out for purple times at the bottom. Do you guys know team 8th place in their debut, but that's a little bit disappointing for them after being such high iRacing, but I'm sure they'll be very competitive come the race. I was a little bit concerned that there would be a runaway team, but anything but so far. And of course, this is a slipstream circuit. You doubt anyone in that in those top places is going to be able to break the draft. What is Jesse Webb doing out there? I think Jesse Webb isn't going to be able to go again, but maybe Alexander Masia and of course Make Kopska up in 3rd position. But not too many improvements at the moment. Wild Animals perhaps could improve. They were 4th just a moment ago. Unfortunately, they've been shuffled down a few places. So far, their sector times are all right. Personal best sector 3. I believe a personal best sector 4 as well. They don't need to improve by a whole lot in order to take pole position here. So this could come down to the wire. They haven't quite got a draft ahead though, and that will harm them.
Yeah, exactly. This is something that, again, we have said it before, and we're probably going to say it throughout the remainder of this race, is the draft that people are going to get. That's going to benefit them, obviously, in qualifying, but it's going to benefit them in the race. So there's definitely some management there. So we've got Wild Animals going with a 40.268, 300ths behind, 300ths separating the top 4.
I mean, take a screenshot of that. Honestly, I've been commentating for 3.5 years, and I have never seen a top 5 like that. I mean, you rarely see like a rookie street stocks race around Charlotte, which says in that. And by the way, that's literally no braking, just easy as. And we've got a longish course here, 100-second lap, and it comes down to 300. I mean, Vulcan Sim Racing with Joel Evans, GT4 driver, very good GT4 driver. He will be infuriated by that. He's 5th place, 3/100ths of a second off pole position. And if there's any doubt about how competitive this Apex Racing League GT Team Championship was going to be, that has certainly silenced any doubts right there. We'll soon take over to the race. We'll have a rolling start. Big thanks, by the way, to everyone who is tuning in. Over 100 viewers, which is fantastic to see. And everyone, of course, watching back as well. Because we've got 4 rounds of this championship, and the first one here at Daytona. It should be one of the most spectacular, certainly. Of course, this event being organised by Apex Racing League, and if you're looking to sign up for any series, go to Apex Racing League. We haven't got too many going until Christmas, but if you're involved in maybe the Formula 3s. So need to check out our Formula 3 League. We've still got 3 more rounds of that to go. You can maybe get a mid-season entry for that championship. So certainly recommend signing up for that, and check out our other leagues as well. We also host touring car championships, and this GT championship, F3s, and also Porsche Cup as well. And we'll bring a few new series as well to the fore in 2021. But back to the race, we've got Jesse Webb then on pole position for Pacific Sim Sport. Then it is Manatee Racing, Fuga Sim Sports, who are the top returning team. They're great to see Make Vice Cops go back, by the way. Runner-up a couple of seasons ago, didn't take part last season. Great to see him back on the grid. Wild Animals starts in 4th place. Then it's Vulcan Sim Racing with Joel Evans. Tom McMahon and Eva are defending champions. They line up in 6th. Kenny Reasons for AAA Esports. Very high rating, that team. Watch out for them in 7th. Then it is 3 guys, no team. Fuga Sim Sports, Pure Sims Esports, Vulcan Sim Racing, Evo SR, RLR Abruzzi Esports, DRS Wave Italy, Ignium Motorsports, AAA Project X, Evo SR, Kairos Competition, Fuga Sim Sports, Valkyrie Esports is the top 20. I won't go through all the teams because, this race only lasts 80 minutes, and I think we'll need a few hours to get through all of them. But there are some very competitives. Daniel Lee, who was last season's runner-up, he starts in 24th. So that is the quality of this order. So I think we talked about it earlier on, Daniel. I think it's pretty much going to be how we expected. It's going to be slipstream dominated. You do not want to be leading, and dare I say, I think we might even see Jesse Webb deliberately giving up the lead in the first few laps, just so that he's not leading.
Well, this is another thing as well. This could very well happen. This could very well happen indeed. Not entirely sure how it's all going to go, but we're going to find out in a second. So, yeah, there's definitely going to be some strategy management. You know, how much fuel is going to be saved during the first one, during the first stop, because this is probably actually going to make a difference. You could probably save a good 3 or 4 seconds in the fuel, in the pit stop, if you do actually make sure that you save the fuel. Your car is going to be, your car is going to be lighter, but that's not to note as well. What you've got to make sure of is that if you do take less fuel because you've been fuel saving, you need to make sure that if you're going to take that fuel, you need to fuel save when you come back out in the second stop as well. So that's another thing. We're really not going to know until we go through and once the stops have happened, because we just haven't really got an idea. It's so close. It's absolutely insane how close this racing is and how close qualifying has been. It's just going to be non-stop. It's going to be incredible. I can't wait.
Absolutely. Great to see the Mustang pace car pull into the pits. And the Apex Racing League GT Team Championship Season 1 is underway for the first time at Daytona, and it is Pacific Motorsports who lead from pole position. Drivers getting through turn 1. We need to make sure we avoid too many incidents. A safety car will be deployed if we get a pile-up. But at least at the front of the order, good driving. The Corvette's leading the way. Highest up the change has been Tom McMahon for Evo SR. He's got ahead of Joel Evans for Vulcan Sim Racing. Evans losing another place then for Vulcan. Also Pure Sims just getting ahead of AAA. And Scale Freak, I think that's just a glitch in our timing, dropping down the order. Wild Animals as well, moving up into 3rd position, past Make Vice Kopsika. These 3 cars need to make sure that they don't lose contact with the top 2 right now, because that gap already pulling out to about 1.2 seconds. They should be able to bridge that gap. But qualifying was impressive for the team's pace. I think that first corner was even more impressive because there's only been a handful of teams who have lost significant positions.
It was indeed, absolutely. You've got to make sure that, you don't lose that draft. I know we're going to keep saying it all the way through this race. If you lose that draft, it's going to be so close. It's going to be so difficult to get it back. In saying that, though, because qualifying was so close, you also may find that if a gap is made, it's going to be very hard for them, for the people in front to pull away. It's going to be very hard for the people behind to catch up because everything was so close. A mistake could potentially be the only way the drivers are actually going to make positions.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, especially once we get long trains, then it will be tricky to overtake them. Let's do make a mistake. As here comes McMahon, had a good start already, and he's looking to get past his old championship foe, Make Vice Kopsika, who finished runner-up to McMahon 2 seasons ago. Of course, this championship is usually solo drivers. For those who are new to the series, this is our first team championship. And it was McMahon who won out, but Vyskovska did put up a very good fight, finishing in the top 10, I think, in all but one race. Would have been champion any other season if it weren't for McMahon. So those two, great to see them running in 4th and 5th. Here is Kenny Rusen. He's down 4 places actually for AAA Esports. Up 4 places is the ARL Abruzzi Esports car of Jake Browning in 9th place. Remember that the pace in qualifying should be similar to the race, because the same drivers who did qualifying, or at least the team's fastest qualifying time, are starting this race. And so it's a little bit surprising to see that much movement, but the top, I can't believe this, it's the entire field. Sam Kimo, I don't know if we could go, like, scroll through the order. There's not a gap. There's not a gap down to 44th place of more than half a second. This is incredible.
It really, really is. It does just go to show, you know, what these 2 hours are going to be like. These 2 hours are going to be absolutely non-stop action, which is obviously really good for us. It's really good for the viewers. So all in all, this is going to be a fantastic racing. However, the drivers are probably going to be thinking they're not going to get any rest at all for the next hour and 15 minutes. Sorry, for the next 2 hours, probably. Which, like I said, for us, we're going to get some incredible racing to commentate on. So Corvette still leading at the moment. Corvette still pulling away. A lot of people have been enjoying the Chevrolet Bolt, but the Porsche is still pushing in some good times. We've got a Ferrari up there as well, with the BMW moving up. As we see, I believe that's Jake Browning that's lost a few places, unfortunately. Not entirely sure what has happened to him. He's dropping down the field. He's already dropped into P15. So very unfortunate from him then. He's dropping down the order a bit further as well. So really not sure what's happened there. No, I think what's going to happen, you know, we're really not going to know. And this is another thing to we could probably agree on, Sam, is we don't really know what's going to happen, and probably until the last, we're going to have a bit more of an idea when everyone pits. But again, we're not really going to have an idea until probably the last 20 minutes, is if people are really going to be in a position where are they going to walk? I don't think they are. I really don't think there's going to be a rest for any of these drivers today.
Yeah, I think it's going to be absolutely relentless for them, as there was a little bit of an issue for one of the Ignium Motorsports car, the 126, just dropping down. By the way, I think, did we miss Pacific Simsport losing the lead? They were in the lead, Pacific Simsport, with Jesse Webb, but no more. It's Manatee now leading the way. And actually, Webb had a, well, actually it was a poor loss. I wonder if Webb got a slowdown. I wonder if Sam could maybe find that one. A lot of events going on, I think, out on stage, so it is tricky to find these replays. But he has lost it. Has he cut? So just watch out if he's on the circuit here. So that was Massia. Yeah, you can see the amount of dirt they kicked up, and the Corvette immediately slow on. Oh, that's annoying. I'm surprised he lost that much, though, to be honest, Daniel. If she cuts in that chicane, you maybe lose a couple of seconds, but, well, I guess if you do lose a couple of seconds, you're down to 7th place, and that's what happened.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, if you're there 7th place, with how close the field is, you probably didn't lose that much time, but because how close the field actually is in this particular race at the moment, I think, yeah, that's just, you know, it goes to show that any little mistake now is really going to have a massive, massive effect, and yeah, you could lose 5, 6, you know, even 7 positions just by cutting that a little bit. So, you know, mistakes are absolutely, mistakes are very, very costly. Not only because of the way that and the nature of the track, but they're so costly because of how close the field is together.
Yeah, so slow downs this early on in the race is a massive mistake, and Pacific dropped down to 6th place then, and they have got a bit of a gap to catch up as well. We've actually got the leading 2 teams a little bit by themselves and lapping quite a bit faster than 3rd place at least. Mark very close to the back of Mick Vyskovska at the moment in 3rd and 4th positions, but Manatee and Wild Animals have pulled away slightly. Then we've got this 4-car train, Pacific, and then 3 guys no team, Vulcan and AAA Esports. In these places, and then the top of the amateur teams is currently DRS Wave Italy, and that is Dan Piazza at the front of that one. Teams who have had issues so far, Ignia Motorsports down 18 places. James Crouch for Eva SR down 14 places. But that's about it. Maybe Scott Rister as well has had a poor start for SCS Motorsports as well. Here comes Piazza around the outside. Off camber though is the outside of turn one, and he's actually going to lose a position there potentially. I think that's he loses out to Triple A Motorsports. Apologies, Vulcan Sim Racing. Yeah, a lot is going on. But yeah, there is Piazza actually at the front of this chain in 10th place for DRS.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I know we keep saying it, but you know, so close. We've got what 3/10 that is now, as we just see Florian has just got past up into 11th place. He's just got past Joel Evans, well, in the Porsche. So yeah, I think at the moment, personally, I knew that the field was going to be close. I didn't expect it to still be this close. But what we could probably see is, and again, we spoke about this before, Sam, is how we are in terms of what people are doing now. They're sitting behind people. They're just trying to save that fuel. If I'm honest, I thought there'd be a bit more racing, but then, yeah, again, looking back on it, the nature of this track, what people are going to be wanting to do and how people want to do it, I think saving fuel is definitely the key here. It's definitely the key up until the pit stop. And then what we're going to find, I think, is after the pit stop.
Contact between Evans, and he's been hit hard as well. Sorry to interrupt, Daniel. But the Vulcan Sim Racing car of Joel Evans is going to surely have to take back to the pits, although the pit lane is within sight. Oh, there's another incident. And was that the same car who he was involved with? Or is that just a random car? That's just a random car. That's the Fit Fury Racing car, who I think missed the chicane or the bus stop. And they will both be very slow back to the pits and sliding again, and they hit each other for the second time. And, well, at least that time wasn't in control. That's probably why it's usually best to tow back to the pits straight away when you have an incident like that. And if the Project Dynamic car was involved, that's certainly some rear wing damage. We'll try to get you a replay of that incident in a little while, because, yeah, it all kicked off. And at the hairpin right there, Eggerson just running a bit wide for Project Dynamic, dropping down to 32nd place. But all of a sudden, just a bit of contact at the bus stop, and well, when you're going side by side through there, that's always a possibility.
Yeah, side by side at the bus stop is it's very, very brave indeed. You've got to make sure that one, you've got confidence in yourself, but you've got confidence in the other driver as well. Having actually, confidence to make sure that you are able to go too wide is always going to be key. I think just unfortunately, yeah, that was. I wouldn't say that was always going to happen. Again, it's just one of those things. It's a bit of a shame there, but it's a shame for it to happen early on, or so early on in this race as well. So hopefully we're not going to get too many more incidents like that. I think people are going to be probably after that incident a bit more wary about going too wide through bus stop. But again, we'll see. There's a long way to go. We don't need. Drivers have still got to be careful. They've got to be cautious. They don't want anything really to happen to compromise. Even a bit of damage around here, a bit of aero damage, is a really, really painful thing to have happen to you, as we've just a couple of cars already with sort of like bent rear wings, which is going to hurt them down the main all the way down the back straight. So again, for half the lap, they're going to be at a disadvantage to the rest of the field.
Yeah, aero damage around here is twice as painful as it is around maybe somewhere like Silverstone that we visited later on in the season. Even Suzuka as well, probably the least straight line dependent race of the season. Aaron Powell, otherwise known as Mr. Watkins Glen, in 11th place, randomly won the Watkins Glen round in GT season 2. Season 2. Just completely random. I mean, he hadn't qualified in the top 10 for most races, and then gets pole and wins the race comfortably. So, unfortunately, we're not visiting Watkins Glen, but trust me, Aaron Powell is a master at that circuit for some unknown reason. Still multiple podium sits though. Didn't have a great last season, Powell, but that is pretty impressive for him to so far be up in 11th place at the moment. Meanwhile, we've got McKeown down the inside, trying to get past the former leaders, the pole sitters. Pacific Simsport, he looks so strong. In practice, they're 3/10 clear, took pole position by 100th, but that slowdown's really derailed them. They just haven't been able to come back since. They are already 8 seconds on the race lead, and they could be overtaken again here from AAA Esports and 3 guys no team. 3 guys no team with a good draft at the moment, but not gaining a whole lot, despite the fact that that BMW ought to be the fastest car down the straight. He's not being able to do too much, maybe even into the rev limiter as they cross the line. And it's another place loss now for Pacific Sim Racing. And 3 guys no team might well be the next car to make their way by.
Yeah, very, very true. Not entirely sure what's happening at the moment with Pacific Sim Motorsport, as we see 3 guys ahead of him just having a little bit of a look, just to try and sort of place his car in a position where Jesse knows that he's there. You want to make sure that while you're not going to slow each other down too much, you also want to be in a position where you can place your car so that the person in front of you, they do know you're there. They're trying to look for a way past. I think going down the main straight, or going down the back straight going into turn 1, I think you had 3 guys noted. I think what they were doing, probably could have been a lift coach, you would have fine. Actually on throttle, they would have been, they sort of would have been backing off. Admittedly, they were hitting into the limiter, but I don't think they would have been full throttle going into that. There's no way they would have needed to with the draft that they had. A massive train going through here. We've got German Sim Racing with Dominic in the middle of it all. So he's probably just sitting there trying to make sure he just cracks on and does what he needs to do for his race. But yeah, P14 all the way down to, what's that, probably P20 is just a train of cars. The person at the front, though, unfortunately, I can't quite see who that is, but the person in front is going to be losing out big time at the moment, as we've now just gone to, so we're going to go through to Aaron Powell in Evo SR. So this is the leader of this massive train who, unfortunately, is drinking fuel. The Porsche is, I don't think particularly that the Porsche is great on fuel anyway. It's, I believe, from memory, this is one of the worst cars in terms of miles per gallon. Obviously, we've got to make sure that efficiency is key here. But yeah, he's really losing out on time at the moment. As we're going to see, I believe this is JP Gendron up the inside, going down into turn 1. I think he's going to make the move stick even before going into turn 1. Cracking move there, absolutely textbook. All he needs to do is to make sure he places his car perfectly, which he has done indeed. Make sure you don't run too wide. That looks to be okay, though. Yep, he's got the move done. Fair play to JP there, really good move. So that's Fuga Simsport up to P11.
Yeah, they, if anything, that could be good for Powell, but I think Powell would like to be in second. I think a little bit of damage as well, not just on the front of that car. I wonder if that's hindering him slightly. Nearly contact as well as they get onto the brakes for the horseshoe, and he is past them. So Evo SR down to 13th place now, but that's not too bad for them. The gap to the leaders, by the way, is up to 17 seconds. So I mean, I think as we knew from the start, these guys weren't going to be able to fight for the race win. But it'll still be competitive for 9th place. By the way, the point system for this series, you do get quite a lot of points for the wins. I think it's like 64 and then 55, 51, 48, and then like 46 and down by 2 until about 10th place, and then down by 1 from there. So I think it works out that I think 16th is worth half as many points as the race win. So that's quite a steep point system. Usually in team racing, even 20th place will offer you a lot of points, but the top positions are rewarded quite highly in this championship. AAA Esports up into 6th place, just swooped around Vulcan Sim Racing. Oh, that's a bit of a pun, that thing. Is that a pun? I'm not sure. Swooped around. Incredible. It's talent. Yeah, AAA now ahead. Still Vulcan up 4 places. These guys 8.5 seconds on lead.
Yeah, exactly. I think 8.5 seconds. Yeah, around Daytona, that's not too bad. Whether that can be caught back, again, depends on the pace. Also depends on the pace actually going through to the pit stops. What's going to happen after the pit stop? We could have people that are, this could very well be a complete role reversal. Actually, to be fair, we could have people that, we could have the people at the front of the field potentially drop off and have a little bit less pace. The next one, you've got Alexander currently leading at the moment. A nice healthy gap of just under a second. Although to be fair, Wild Animals are still getting a little bit of a draft. It's probably not as much as they would like. However, at the same time, what they've got to make too is we're now riding on board with Dimitri there. Yeah, there's definitely a tow window. I think the the draft winner normally starts at about 1.2 or potentially about 1.3 seconds. I think normally is where the draft starts. So he is getting pulled along a little bit, but he's probably going to be using a bit more fuel than he necessarily would have liked. But at the same time, he's using less fuel than iRacing. So yeah, if he can keep doing what he's doing, they may very well jump them in the pits.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with the like 1.2 seconds where it starts to kick in. I think, yeah, I would have thought he'd be gaining more than what we were seeing around NASCAR 3 and 4. I wonder if maybe the V8 is the Corvette is a little bit faster down the straights. Of course, a lot of that comes down to setup. Fuga Sim Sports, where are they? There they are. Also, it's like a DP there with the orange. That's at least the livery that I've got. Yeah, good memories of the Corvette C7 Daytona prototype. This was how it happened. I think this was with Gendron. Post-race stewards will be having a look as long as the incident is reported. So yeah, that was Gendron, sorry, being tapped round. I don't think that was by Powell. I think that was from Liebberg for Triple A Project X. But I'm not 100% sure. But so yeah, I'm sure the stewards will have a look at that after the race.
Absolutely, yeah, a little bit of a shame for Fuga Sim Sport there. I just think it looked to be drifting over, taking normal racer line. Potentially, obviously the person, the contact was made. Maybe both drivers may not have been prepared. Actually going through turn one, you could be actually carrying a bit more speed, even if you are the car ahead and you're that close in the draft. You actually surprisingly carry just a little bit more speed going through. You sort of can also lose a bit of rear end aero as well. So again, unfortunately, as you say, Sam, the stewards will be looking at that absolutely. Vulcan Sim Racing currently in P30 with Adam Gladden at the wheel, the number 234 car with a cracking looking livery. Very, very nice indeed. Again, at the moment, he's sort of losing out. He's not really gaining much in terms of a. He's not saving fuel because he is currently in the train of the next sort of 3 cars that are sitting behind him. So he's the one losing out at the moment. So that is Project Dynamic in the port number 27. They're going to be benefiting massively at the moment. So yeah, again, I think we're probably going to see what we are going to potentially have is more changes in the pits than I probably think we are anticipating, because we've got a lot of people. The gaps have actually opened up quite. There's sort of like certain gaps. You know, you've got 3 or 4 cars together, and then we've got, as we actually see now, we've got Louis trying to go around the outside into turn 1. Doesn't quite make the move stick. Unfortunately, might lose out of position to John. That's John Dinkle in the. He's going to go for a dive up the inside of turn 3. Nearly tries to make it, as we see. That was Project Dynamic going wide into turn 3. He's lost a position because of it, unfortunately. Is he going to try and make the position back? He may very well do. I think, though, he's just going to try and sit behind him. Maybe try and make that position back, going through to the bus stop and carry that slipstream. As I say, that's commentator's curse, unfortunately. And we've got contact made between the 2 Porsches. That was very unfortunate indeed. Stewards will definitely be taking a look at that one. That was not ideal, I think, from both parties there.
Yeah, that looked pretty bad from Project Dynamic, but yeah, we'll see what the stewards think about that one. Passes up the race for Wild Animals. As we see change for AAA Esports, they are just stepping ahead of Vulcan Sim Racing. He's going to head into turn 1, so that is for 6th place. And what are they lapping? They are best part of a second a lap slower than the leaders, so struggling to bridge that gap. In fact, they are being caught farther behind by Jesse Webb for Pacific Sim Sports. Only a 1/10 of a second actually faster than Mickey Owen on that last set. So Webb was overtaken by those 2 cars earlier on in the race. Of course, we've got to remember is that at the halfway stage of this race, we are expecting the drivers to get to at maximum 45 minutes into this race. Most pit stops will be happening around the 40-minute mark. The teams will be changing drivers. That's a slide forward till Bain. And I thought he was going to be able to find that bit of tarmac and not lose too much time. He's going to lose a bunch of time though. The WS Racing Esports car gets back onto the track. And that is a big shame for him. One of our highest iRacing drivers, I believe, circuit is Tilbane. Great to see him in the championship, and this was him trying to get past the that was the M-Science Immortal car of Danny Lee. He was a little bit slow on the inside there, was Daniel Lee, but just caught Bame out, had to go wide, flipped the wheel onto the grass.
Yeah, I just don't think Tim was expecting that, if I'm honest. And to be fair, it's something, you've got a, it's one of those things where, I just don't think he was expecting it. He wasn't expecting the Porsche to be so slow on the inside. It's amazing how it can catch you out, actually. If you're that closing speed, you sometimes don't realise it until in that sort of case where it's too late. Well avoided, though, by Tim. To be fair, taking evasive action, and no contact was made. Obviously, he's probably scrubbed his tyres a little bit. I imagine his tyres are going to be a little bit warm. All in all, luckily, no damage. The car keeps going. As we're going to see a through battle, potentially 3 wide, trying to go 3 wide into turn 1. That's very, very brave. Guys, let's not do too much too soon. We've still got an hour and 40 minutes left, as we have got. That was, I believe that was Bradley Hulse in the Simtech Racing Ferrari that was going wide there into turn 1. So he's lost a couple of positions, unfortunately for him. That's now put a couple more drivers behind. So we got RLR Abruzzi Esports and WS Racing Esports. As we see more contact, that is the Chris Chatterton from Eclipse Racing Team having a bit of contact again going through into turn 1. I think there's a lot of action going through in turn 1. Unfortunately, most of the action that we've seen going through turn 1 isn't ideal for the drivers. There's a lot of contact going through there. I think people just may not necessarily be used to the closing speeds that they can actually carry going into turn 1.
Yeah, I think so. That could have been a lot worse as well. Great avoidance. I think it was from Ignium, who are now just ahead of John Dinkle. He got on the brakes, he saw the car ahead was sliding, rather than try to pull off some mad move and to just keep his foot down. He actually got on the brakes, which is an underused pedal, usually in those situations. Managed to take evasive action, took the long way round, but at least avoided any damage. They do get a faster pair in this series, so there's not much excuse for the drivers not to finish the race. We will see everyone finish the race. Everyone down to 45th position do get points. It's best to complete as many laps as you can, albeit both drivers do have to do 10 laps, and you have to finish either 0, 1 or 2 laps down in order to score points. Bruno Aguirre from Valkyrie Esports. A 3-man team this, and the initials take up the lost space. As the 180 has to get well out of it. That was German Sim Racing losing out to the triple Project X then. And will there be a little bit of a comeback into the horseshoe? They're all quite slow on the corner entry. I'm sure Kulikowski is going to be able to come back down the next straight. And this Triple X back up into 12th place. And Powell's actually been able to drop these guys. That's impressive. As there's a tap again. And that was from the Kairos competition cars. And also that is that's Daniel Lee. That's a shame for Daniel Lee. Was runner-up last season. He's run wide for M-Signs, I think, put off by all of that which was going on. He was having a good race. I got another one round. That's Pure Sims 3 of the circuit. Morgan Butler having to go onto a very unused part of the track. And we'll rejoin the circuit and do the apron. A little bit risky that, he's gone over.
Yeah, indeed. That's, I think, again, it's chance to calm down. We've got an hour and 35 minutes left of the race. There's a lot of racing that's still to be had. But I think there's actually a lot more freebies for people than I think every driver has realised. There's probably a lot of people that are just sitting there sort of driving around and then making up positions left, right and centre. I think one of the key fundamental points in an endurance race, something like a race lasting 2 hours, is keeping it on the track. That's one thing you've got to make. That's the main thing. It's you've got to race hard, you've got to race fair, but at the same time, if there are positions that need to be lost, in terms of a safety point of view, just to head down, sit behind them and carry on, that could very well be what they need to do. As we've got Razaholics with Florian Beer in 25th position, having a good battle there with Go Around Racing Team, the number 223 car, number 287 car. As I say that, Florian's gone wide going through turn 1, and that has allowed, that was very, very close indeed, very well held from Toledo there. As we see a little bit of contact, that was so close. Cracking racing from these two, really, really good. Again, it's really fair, it's really clean. They're putting their cars in the exact positions that they need to. Cracking move there from both of nearly a bit of a comeback, though, as we see from Razaholics, but they have lost the positions. I say that. We've got Goran Racing gone a little bit wide. Still too wide now, going to go through to the left-hander onto the back straight. And we see Razaholics have backed out of it then, which is probably wise, I think. What they may try and do now, and you may try and see, is Razaholics going to try and set them up either for the bus stop or try and do a carbon copy of what Goran Racing have done, and they're going to try and take them going through into turn one. Interesting to see this. This is a very, very good battle. Looking forward to seeing how this develops, but hopefully we can stay on board for a little bit here as we're going to go a defensive line for Goran Racing there. They're going to try and go around. This is very, very brave indeed. They're going to go nearly too wide going to the bus stop. This is cracking racing, Sam.
It really is. Florian Beer racing alongside his, I believe, brother. They share the same surname, so they are relatives in some way. With Mateus Beer, who was coined by Peter Mackay, who was commentating on the Apex Racing Academy GT4 series as the German Austin Powers because of that very spectacular livery that he has got on board. So that is what we will be referring to. That was really close there from Simtech. Florian Beer, Mateus Beer was a very strong GT4 driver. I'm a bit surprised Mateus didn't take the start, seeing that he is higher I-rated. That's okay, the holes, calm down, mate. But I'm a bit surprised that Mateus didn't take the start. He will be competitive near the end of the race, so watch out for that car. He's running in 26th place to move up the order later on in the event. They're all locking up. They're all making these corners a lot more tricky for themselves than they need to be. And Florian Beer slides off. It's a bit downhill there. It's a weird one where I've crashed there before, where you just like lock a brake and then before you know it, you're in the barrier because the grass is so slippery and it's a little bit downhill. You can easily slide off into the tyres. So far, no one doing that, but Florian having a spin and drops down to 28th place as we look outside the top 30, and there's still a lot of battles going on. Apologies if maybe you're watching this back, or maybe you're watching a teammate or a friend or a family member out on circuit and we're not covering them. There's just too much going on. We're struggling to keep on top of it all. But this is one of the best battles out on circuit, one of the largest packs going on. Project Dynamic leading this 5-car train.
Yes, absolutely. This is a very, very good battle. Exciting to see how this develops. So yes, at the moment we've got Adam Gladden that's probably benefiting the most out of it at the moment. Again, he's saving a bit of fuel, which again I know, is one thing that is key going up until the pit stops. We're just about to hit the 13-minute mark into this 2-hour race. So yes, very, very close indeed. As we're going to see, actually, to be fair, is we've got Adam going to try and make a move around the outside going into turn one. This is very, very brave indeed. Is he going to make the move stick even before turn one has happened? I don't think he is. The Porsche seems to be very quick in a straight line. Last of the late breakers. And I think it's going to be, or I say last of the late breakers, I believe Project Dynamic. Yes, they actually broke a bit too late, and that's lost one position, potentially two. No, they haven't indeed. We see a bit of light flash in there. This is going to be a 3 battle, and we see contact. Oh, no. Guys, that was very, very close. Unfortunately, that was two cars trying to go into one gap then. That was not going to work there. And Project Dynamic really losing out on that, unfortunately. So that was unfortunate for those guys. Unfortunate for Louis there. So he's probably suffered a little bit more damage to his car, which again is something that you really do not want to have around Daytona.
Yeah, that was one car into the other as we have a change for the lead. Wild Animals take the lead. I don't think these two have been changing places a whole lot. I think Wild Animals has just been waiting behind Manatee Racing on the most part so far, but they now take the lead of the race. They are leading by 3.8 seconds. They were just out-lapped though by half a second that last time out, so a little bit of a poor lap. And actually Manatee all of a sudden half a second off to pick up the pace to catch back up to the back of that Wild Animals car. Daniel Ferguson doing a very good job in the Pure Sims Esports car, very much under the radar. Then it's Fuga Simsport and EVS are locked together. Bison Kopsika versus McMahon. I still can't get over how Bison Kopsika is battling McMahon. It's such really good to see him back out on circuit. Fuga Simsport's relatively new team. Many drivers from Gold Racing team who did win the team's championship back in GT Season 1, so they are a good team. Many of the drivers transferring over to Fuga Simsports, along with many other very competitive drivers. Arthur Godsek comes to mind, Mads Grafson as well, driving for that team. So they are one to watch out for, but so far, the only one running in the top 10, even 20 positions. They're doing a good job in 4th place. Then it is Triple A Esports with Kenny Rusens at the wheel and Luke McKern for Vulcan Sim Racing. Those two have been glued together for the most part. And then behind that is 3 guys, no team. Another 7.3 seconds off, and then Pacific Sim Sports. And remember, Jesse Webb for Pacific Sim Sports led the race in the early stage, got pole position, led the race. It's about 18 seconds off, and got a long way to catch up. He might get up to 8th place though here, past 3 guys, no team. And that was easy enough for him down the inside into turn 1. But certainly not the race that they wanted as they slide off, and they might even lose a place here to DRS Wave, who are currently the top of the amateur teams. Dan Piazza just stays behind them.
Yeah, very, very close indeed. I think, you know, what we've spoken about before, it's amazing how quickly it can all go wrong for a team. You know, again, we haven't had any mistake, especially with a field that is this close, is so costly. As we're still currently on the screen as number 267 of Dan Piazza from DRS Wave. At the moment, he's going to be trying to keep on the back of Pacific Sim and 3 guys, no team. If he drops off, though, it's going to be a little bit difficult because you've got the 2 guys up ahead. They're actually going to potentially pull each other along if they can stay within the draft of each other. So DRS Wave have got to make sure that they are keeping on the back of those 2. Otherwise, they are going to find themselves dropping off a little bit more. We've got Evo SR currently now on your screen. Actually, I say that, apologies. We've now got Valkyrie Esports with the 117 Porsche with Bruno Guir currently live. So he is trying to save some fuel behind M-Sign's Simortal, with Lee currently behind the wheel, number 110. Currently running in, this is the battle for P17. It's very, very difficult because what you've got to make sure is, and in this sort of instance, it's a bit difficult for a commentator. You probably would agree with me, Sam. In this instance, we're not entirely sure, and I'd love to have some insight, is what the drivers currently are thinking, what the team's strategy is. I know obviously that's going to be, people are not going to want to share that, and teams aren't going to want to share the strategies. But it'd be really interesting to see what people's thoughts are, what team strategy is, and how that's playing out within their driving style, within their lap times, within their fuel-saving measures. You know, it would, having that insight would be really, really good. Because again, is this something that people are just sitting behind, or is this actual the pace of people at the moment? It's very, very. As we see, that was very, very close indeed. I'm not entirely sure who that was, but that the Performance Link Esports car locking up the brakes going into turn 1 again. Turn 1 seems to be the problem corner, I think, for a lot of drivers at the moment. So I believe that was yeah, that is the 173 car currently in P15. We have the little bit of a lock up there. So yeah, I think turn 1 seems to be a bit of a bugbear for a lot of drivers, Sam.
Yeah, and to your point about, you know, what the drivers are thinking and kind of how much we know. I mean, I never know what's going on. So it makes no difference, but I'm sure for someone who's competent, yeah, it is difficult to know what's going on. Egerton, now, I think that's quite an early pit stop, but come on, it's like the 4th one. You should be able to reach it. We saw at Alton Park yesterday, the first pit stop at Alton Park is like on the weighing scales. It's like impossible to reach. And a driver missed their pit stop. But that one for Egerton, maybe that wasn't the issue for him, to be fair. But he is in 45th place. We'll get a fast pair and maybe a drive swap, maybe change of tyres as well, as it is side by side for 8th place. Jesse Webb is coming back now. If he could win this race from here, that would be very impressive. We wait to see how competitive his teammate is as well. But he's run wide, and yeah, you're also right about the action zone being turn 1. I personally thoroughly dislike to drive this circuit. I think to race around here it's pretty cool, but to drive this is terrible. And that first corner is the epitome of why the circuit isn't very good to drive, because it is a bit of a nothing corner. It's not great for racing either, albeit at least it does make overtaking a little bit tricky which yeah, does make it a bit more of a challenge. Otherwise, maybe be a bit too easy if we did have a conventional corner there. But that turn one, yeah, is causing these drivers plenty of trouble. But at least in this battle, it's now Pacific Sunspot down to 10th place. Jesse Webb, the Canadian, in the Corvette.
Yeah, I think just leading, following on the point of turn one, you've probably got, I think as well as some drivers, what you're finding is maybe the overspeed that they're carrying actually and carrying through into turn one. If you're sitting behind a driver, it's amazing. You could probably carry an extra maybe 10, 12, maybe even 13 kilometers an hour going down into turn one. Also the bus stop as well. That's something to also bear in mind as well. You may find drivers that are going sort of slightly too deep into the bus stop because, again, they're just carrying so much more overspeed. We've got a bit of a battle on here. This is the battle for the lead. We've got Kopanov and Mattia currently battling for P1 still. A little bit of traffic, though, as well. That's one thing that obviously we've got to make sure that, and the drivers have got to be careful of, it is traffic management. A race like this, we've got to make sure that we are nice and careful. As I actually see there, the number 20, the number 220 car actually getting out of the way of both drivers there. So very nice. Them just running ever so slightly wide. That was the 220 car of Jones. Yes, very, very close indeed. What you want to make sure, and hopefully we've got Alexander at the moment, what he doesn't want to do is to get held up in a little bit of traffic and to actually drop off of the back of Dimitri. That's going to really, really hurt him if he does. The gap's at about 6/10 at the moment. This particular bit of traffic hopefully won't make that much of a difference, but the longer the race goes on and the more traffic that they've got to try and negotiate around, your traffic management is absolutely key to making sure that you can actually stay with the guys throughout the race.
Yeah, I don't do too much racing nowadays, but that was always my favourite part of multi-class. I used to drive the Corvette C7 Daytona prototype quite a bit. And as we've got Vandenesse into the pits, yeah, so the pit window's open, but this is a little bit early. You kind of want to stretch it out as long as you can. But yeah, in the C7, for one season in IMSA, you had the GT3s and the Porsche Cups alongside the C7, and it was glorious. You could lap the Porsches twice in the race. And also everyone else was, a bit sketchy behind there. I was just bombing it down the inside every time. I mean, I'm sure everyone hated me, but it got me a few positions occasionally, and I got some good results. When it came down to paces, the leaders had to take evasive action of Joe Ferguson in the scale 3 car. Get back going, go. There's no time to waste. He's back going again. Oh, he's still getting in the way of Luke McKern, I think, just making his way past. Yeah, that was great fun, and hopefully the drivers will enjoy seeing the traffic up ahead as well. But it does give the opportunity, perhaps for the leader, to make a slight break. And in fact, actually, the lead between the gap between the leaders is currently 1 second, and that is pretty much as big a lead we have seen out ahead for the entire race. As we tune in for Daniel Ferguson, he's now 6 seconds clear of Bicycopska. Interestingly, was in the 40s that last time out, and actually Pure Sims have got the fastest lap of the race. And that hasn't been totally obvious to the naked eye that they've been the fastest, but they started in 10th place, gained a load of places at the start. They could be very dangerous in the second half of the race, as long as Ferguson's teammates, and this is when I wish I had a third monitor, because I'd like to see Andy Shield, of course, is his teammate, who is a very accomplished driver in the World GT Championship. I'm not sure how fast Ferguson is, to be honest. I don't know what their relative speed is. I'm sure Shield would be very competitive there. Looks like it could be a three-way battle, as Triple A Esports and Holden Simbios have actually caught up to this little chain, as Manatee and Pure Sims are both into the pit, so they've run out of fuel right on the halfway mark. That's how close it is to getting to the end of the race on one pit stop. And also Fuga into the pits as well. Wild Animals, Triple A Esports, who move up into second place now ahead of EBSR, they all continue. And quite a few teams coming into the pits, and also a few teams overshooting the pits, their pit stall as well, because the pit lane here is unusually quick. You have to pit quite early in order to stop.
You do. You've also got to make sure that you're not actually carrying too much speed going into going into the pits. Otherwise, you're going to get a penalty as well. You're going to get a drive-through penalty or a stop-and-go penalty. So that's one thing. But yeah, this is it's going to be very, very close indeed. I think even if you haven't been sitting behind cars and fuel saving, I think you've got to make sure that drivers are actually going to be fuel saving, and your second driver fuel saved quite significantly. But yeah, Wild Animals at the moment, they haven't actually pitted, so they've obviously managed their fuel quite well. They've done what they needed to they've done what they needed to do, and as we see that, they look to be. Well, I'm guessing they will be jumping in the pits this lap. But yeah, what we may see, we're going to see a couple of people, we're going to see a couple of teams, and a couple of drivers that are going to be moving up, and we're also going to see a couple of drivers that are going to be moving down as well. So yeah, this is where we're going to see some jumping in the pits, and now we're going to potentially see some pace change as well. So interesting to see now the pace of the other drivers and the pace of the second driver within the car. So interesting to see how it all pans out as well.
So sorry for my slight interruption there when I said as Wild Animals come in, but one of the drivers needs to retake their driving test. Clearly they didn't have to do parallel parking in their driving test, because I've never seen such shoddy driving in my life. I don't even know who it was, and he got a clear name, but whoever that is should be ashamed of yourselves, because I mean, in real life that would hurt someone. Anyway, Wild Animals and Triple A and Esports are all into the pit, so no one being able to go the extra lap beyond that, but that should be all right anyway. Has anyone done anything different with the pit stop? I think everyone's taking, no one's taking tyres, even though the driver change and the tyres are done simultaneously. It's not worth taking that extra time, particularly around this, like maybe once we get to Suzuka, we might see that. As Wild Animals coming out of the pits, are they still ahead of Manatee? As we close in on them, here is Wild Animals. Have they kept their lead? They have. Have they broken the draft?
Yes.
Looks like they have. 1.6 seconds. These next couple of laps then, Daniel, are really important. Obviously, two different drivers now, so it's a different type of race, and we really don't know how fast these two drivers are going to be, but providing that they're the same pace as their teammates were, that could be a fundamental moment in this event.
Very true, yes. This is one thing that Artem needs to now, at this moment in time, needs to get his head down, crack on. He doesn't need to worry about the gap, and this is one thing as well that I think some people do forget potentially in a team or during a race. What they need to do is to make sure that in this scenario is they're not focusing and they're not worrying about, as we just got there. So we've got Artem there with 5.7k. We've got Dylan with 6.5k iRating. So this is some very, very high iRating drivers. So we're going to see some very, very quick lap time, as we have done already. But yeah, this is going to be very, very close indeed, I'm sure, in terms of lap times. But yeah, I think this is a common misconception with it. What you need to do is you don't need to worry about what's going on behind you. You need to concentrate at this moment, especially just after a pit stop. You've got some gap that you need to maintain. You need to just head down, crack on, and see what you do. As we see, no, that's James Salt in the pits. That is for Evo SR, the 148 Ferrari. Such a shame there. We're going to get a replay of it here going through. This is it looks to be a slow BMW. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. Bit of overspeed going through the bus stop, and again, he just loses it on the bus stop. Again, that's probably overspeed. Wasn't potentially a little bit caught out with how fast he was going into the bus stop. It looked like he turned a bit later as well. Whether he was going to try and sort of potentially, I don't know what was happened there, but yeah, really unfortunate for him, just losing it on his own accord. That was a big shame there for James.
That is really disappointing to see. Our defending champions, Tom McMahon, getting out of that car. James Salt will be absolutely kicking himself for that one. I hope James doesn't take it too badly, because that's a mistake that everyone does make, but he will be furious at that one. No drop scores in this championship, and with the competitiveness of the other teams, the USR really needed a perfect season. They couldn't drop any points, and well, I mean, it's early to say, isn't it? But dare I say, the championship is probably already over for them, unless they can somehow get podiums at the next 3 races, and the others have issues, because they're already going to be 65 points down on the championship lead. Albeit they will be able to take back to the pits, and they will be able to finish this race and score some points. But I don't think they'll be able to finish in the top 30 places. They'll probably lose about a lap because of that. We'll keep an eye out on them. So not a great day for Evo SR, as Kevin Schneider's in the German sim racing car. He is in 13th place at the moment. In terms of the changes over the pit stop period then, there weren't that many. DRS Wave Italy have got ahead of Pacific Sim Sports. That was maybe a change for 9th and 10th. But everyone's pit stops were kind of 30 to 31 seconds. Interestingly, AAA Esports only took 27 seconds worth of fuel, which is quite a bit less than everyone else. I wonder if their calculations has come up that we're going to do one less lap than what everyone else thinks that we're going to do. But they had a very short pit stop. They are currently in 4th place. At the moment out there, AAA Esports. There's a few other buses going on. Here's Eric O'Connor. As Eric O'Connor, Eric O'Connor in 25th and in 26th. He's driving 2 cars simultaneously. This is remarkable from Eric O'Connor. I've never seen driving skill like it. He must have very long invisible legs in order to be operating the pedals, let alone 4 legs as well, goes without saying. Well, Eric O'Connor, talented driver. Maybe he's controlling one of them with his mind, I don't know, but what I believe should be in that car is Matthias Beer, this Razaholic's car. So a slight issue there, so apologies for that one, but, well, I don't know, maybe it's just Eric driving well, but there they are, 25th and 26th.
Yeah, really good stuff. I'm actually surprised. You know, I'm actually a bit surprised that we weren't seeing more. We weren't seeing more driver change or position swaps from the pit stops. There was obviously a few people that weren't saving that much fuel. Maybe this could actually be something that I slightly over anticipated how much fuel you can actually save. So yeah, again, we may see this actually develop throughout the race. We also may see, as we just got Wild Animals there, we've got Manisi Racing putting a 141 dead. We've got Fuga Simsport that are in the pits. We've got Taj Edwards currently in the pits. Number 181 BMW is in the pits. Not entirely sure what's happened here. Whether, I don't know if they forgot to, I don't actually know. I don't know why they'd be in the pits. Have any ideas, Sam?
I think they came in for repairs actually early on in the race because their previous pit stop was only 9 seconds long. So they took a little bit of fuel in the fast earlier on, and now this is their proper pit stop. But yeah, I thought it was going a bit better for Fuga than it actually was. I thought they were legit 5th and 6th, but that will send him something down the order outside the top 20. As we see, look how close it is. So Manatee has been able to catch back up. Pure Sims haven't been able to keep up actually. On that last lap, Andy Shield only did a 42.48. Now, by the way, I haven't said it all day long, but check out our live time link in the description below. If you click on that link, you can see the fastest laps for the drivers, their last lap time, the gaps between each of the drivers. Some really useful stuff. So click on that link in the description below. It's really useful for team racers like this to get a good idea of what's going on. But Manatee looked very quick. And to your point a few moments ago, as Ibressar, oh no, Ibressar had an off in 21st position now. That's not too bad for them, to be fair. Manatee Chambers driving that car. But to your point a few moments ago about the fuel, I think you're still right though about the fuel. You were saying how maybe the fuel isn't playing as big a part as you thought it would. I think it is, because I think everyone put in as much fuel as they could for the second stint. But I think the drivers who went that one extra lap have got to save less fuel for the second stint. So I think those drivers who were able to save fuel in the first stint, I think it may come to them later on when they are able to not fuel lift and coast in the latter stages of the race in order to get to the end. So still that advantage of saving fuel in that first stage may prove important. But at the moment it looks like Manatee have the advantage. They're only 100ths of a second faster on that last lap, but they are hounding the back of Wild Animals at the moment, out in the lead 3/10 of a second between them. Mads Grabson is driving well. I think he's just lost a place to Mohamed Janko. Vulcan Sim Racing versus Fuga Simsport, 2 returning drivers from last season here, and that is a change for 5th and 6th. They've got a bit of catching up though to get to AAA.
Yes, exactly. There is some close battles. I think Maniti racing at the moment. So Dylan has got some really, really good pace, and potentially at the moment, I think he may be sitting behind. Again, as we've now just got them on your screen at the moment. I think, judging by the way that he caught up to Artem and how quickly he did, it was only, what, 5 or 6 laps. Either there's going to be a position that's going to be made, or what we're going to find is Dylan's just going to sit behind it. What it could be very much now is he's actually controlling the race at this moment in time. You know, so we've got Artem that's not saving any fuel. Dylan is very much controlling the race. A really, really good onboard shot. Bit of traffic again to negotiate. I think Dylan, though, is looking very, very racy. He might try and make a move up to the inside of turn 3. Very, very late on the brakes. And there was not really much of a battle there from Artem. I think at that point, I think he just had to accept that Dylan was going to come through. Although I say that, he is trying to fight back, going through into the middle of the lap. Very, very close indeed. 2 wide, going through the very, very fast, almost flat-out left-hander. Still side by side. This is a very, very close battle. Unfortunately, Artem has to give up and has to yield the position eventually. But some cracking racing from these 2 drivers. Very, very close indeed. What you may find now is if Dylan has got the pace that he has had when he's been catching up to Artem, I think what we're going to see is Dylan is now just going to head down and check out, I think, at this moment in time. So.
Yeah, he needs to try to use these back markers to his advantage. Of course, if Scrivens has got the toe from the back markers, then there's no advantage for Grabau in the toe. However, I think Scrivens is going to get held up here. Yeah, he's flashing his light. He's like, mate, come on, let me go. I can see a way out of here, but he has to stay behind. Ooh, and look at the start, and straight away, Grabau is right back onto the back of him. And I think if you're Grabau here, I think you want to take the lead. I think the danger is that Scrivens could get ahead, and then one mistake from Grabau and he loses the draft. He just lives out of it here. Now when he puts his foot back down and tries to get alongside going into turn 1, here comes the Porsche 911. Can't go under the yellow line across the start-finish line, but of course not on the apron. Around the corners at least, but Grabau does stay behind. This is going to be important between these 2 on that last time. Andy Shield finally gets him back up to pace, but it's currently Amory Bonjour who is the fastest man out on circuit. He took a second out of these drivers on that last lap in 4th place. He's 8 seconds off the lead, and we've still got half an hour to go. We've been going for a while, but we've still got half an hour to go. I think AAA Esports might be able to bring themselves back into contention.
Yeah, exactly. No, this is going to be quite close toward the end of the race, I feel. This is going to be very, very close indeed. If we can have Amory, if he's got the pace, if Bonjour has got the pace and consistency to do these laps over and over again, we are definitely going to see we definitely see the gap come down. I think at the moment what we need to do realistically is we're going to have to again, it's one of those, we're not really going to know, and I don't think we're going to have much of an understanding probably until the last, maybe even the last 20 minutes, quarter of an hour, because, again, like I said, the pace is so close as we're now running on board. We've now got the leaders currently on your screen at the moment going through the bus stop. Got a bit more traffic, though. I feel this is actually going to be, that's unfortunately James Salt in the number 148 Ferrari who had the accident just after the pit stop, so he will be moving out of the way up to 34th position, though, so he's not got that much. I don't think he's a lap down of P30, so he may, you never know, he may actually jump into the top 30 and gain some points. Hopefully he does, but yes, at the moment, I think Grabau is just sitting behind. Whether he's going to try and make a move later on into the race, I'm not entirely sure. Is he going to try and make a move maybe on the last lap? The one problem with Daytona is you've almost got to try and make the move potentially on the last lap. If you need to ensure that you get a good run out of the bus stop to try and then gain that slipstream going down, because if you do get ahead and you jump into the lead or gain a position 2 laps before the end, there's a very high chance we've just got a car that's gone off then. Not entirely sure who that was. That is Steve Brown, unfortunately, of Indy Autosport, currently in 46th position. So it just feels like he's got to wait an absolute age to wait for all the cars to go through before he does get underway again. Moving on board now, so on your screen currently, we've got Finn in P13 in Kairos competitions. A little bit of a wobble there from the 117 car Valkyrie Esports, currently in P12. This is a cracking battle again between these guys. Is there going to be a bit of a move going into 10th? I don't think there is. think what drivers are playing it a little bit safe now. They're playing it a little bit tentative, a little bit cautious. They want to make sure that there's no other incidents, especially this late into the race.
Yeah, some tight racing between these two. See, as Moore in 17th position, so Moore, he got in the car. No, sorry, I thought that was another Fuga Sim Sports car. He was a Fuga Sim Sports car who came in to the pits quite late. Oh, it was Godsig, apologies. So there's a few Fuga Sim Sports cars out there, but Arthur Godsig in the Fuga Sim Sports AG plus TE was the guy who came into the pits late. I must say, I'm not totally convinced by the initials. I thought I would be able to indicate who the drivers were by the initials, but even I didn't. So for the average viewer, I'm sure it is quite simple, so we might get rid of that later on. Let us know what you think of the initials on the YouTube chat, but I do like the numbers by the drivers. I do quite like that, indicating the different cars. I think that looks quite smart. But we might just simplify the team names for next time out, as Calvin Dent for Pure Sims 3. I think they had an off earlier. I think they had a spin earlier. But looking to get past Alex Moore. He was a good qualifier last season, struggled to get into the race too much, but 17th place is a very good effort at the moment with the order that we have. There goes the Pure Sims car past. Teammates are of course running up in 3rd position at the moment. They're still alongside. Still trying to defend, drives it in deep, does Calvin Dent. Can he pick up the Thutzl early? He'll have the inside for the hairpin. This looks pretty good for Dent at the moment. He should be able to go back down the inside, but actually just stays behind. I must say, these C8s do look awesome. I think they're the best looking GTE cars out there. It's a welcome addition to iRacing since they came in a couple of months ago, as they're still alongside. And finally, is the Fuga Sim Sports car who gets ahead.
Yeah, this is a very, very close battle. This is actually currently a 4-way battle. We're just going to run and ball with Justin Holtz, who has got a really good view of what's happening. He's got a bit of a gap behind him, so I think at the moment he's going to try and capitalise on any battling that's going to go on ahead of him. And hopefully, as we see a little bit sideways, let's be a little bit of a sideways moment then. For Moore coming in P17. This is a very, very close race. Indeed, this is only going to get close, because the more that the guys battle up ahead, the more that Fuga and Pure Sims battle, the more cars are actually going to jump onto the back of this train. So interesting to see, is there going to be any lifts here? I don't think that Justin, he has actually a little bit of a lift going through into the bus stop. So not only is he probably saving a bit of fuel, but he's also just, again, managing. He wants to make sure that you're not getting held up too much going through the bus stop. You want to carry that speed through. By carrying the speed through, you're going to potentially gain a position. This could very well be the position that we're talking about. So is Justin going to make a move on Chambers there? He can try and go around the outside. We've got the Evo SR Porsche with some slight damage that is going to affect them on the aero. We also have Holtz actually behind, I think, as well, in the Fuga Simsport car. The number 1A1, sorry, that's Godzik, my apologies. He's going to try and get in on the action, as well as we've got, again, a little bit wide there from Moore. And very, very close indeed. That looked to be Godzik trying to go around the outside into turn 1. Didn't quite work out. Still, currently, your main focus point for the screen at the moment is Matty Chambers holding off the big BMW of Holtz there. So currently now focused on to Lucas Deering, who again is going side by side. We've got it. That was very, very close indeed. Cracking battle. This is a really, really good battle here. Really clean, really fair. Everyone's put in their car again in a position where they just about need to be to try and stay ahead. You know, so close. With 20 minutes remaining, this is such a close battle. And again, we've got another car. I could actually believe that is Kitzman. That is a back marker there. But he looks to be, he wants to join in on the action as well. So this is for everyone. This is a battle for everyone. Whether you're a lap down or not, I think everyone's going to be trying to get a piece of this action, because this is really, really good stuff. As now we've got Deering going to try and have a look around the outside going into bus stop. I don't think he's going to make the move stick. It wouldn't be worth it. Yes, as we see Godzik now has moved over. That probably means that Deering had to probably back out of that in a bit, and he has done. I don't think he was expecting to be cut off that close to the corner. But yes, so Arthur still carrying on and holding P20 at the moment. He's dropped a little bit on the back. It's about half a second now is the gap So hopefully he's not going to be racing too much. I don't think Deeren is going to want to race much with him at the moment, because he's not going to want to drop the gap from the guys ahead.
Yeah, you need to stay close. I really thought that the bigger car of Goswick was going to wipe out a couple of cars going into turn 1 on that last lap, but just managed to get stopped. Had a big old slide. These drivers now, by the way, 1 minute 8 off the race lead, so they won't go a full lap down. So they won't be too far off it at the end of the race. Now it's just the view car getting ahead of the WS car, doing in the T3 Esports car. Of course, I believe T3 won the Sim Racers World GT Endurance Championship in the GT3 cars. And anyone who is a fan, if they've got their supporters club in the YouTube chat, let us know if I've got that wrong. But I do believe T3 won that series, at least one races at least in that championship. So they are competitive. Got some. Well, this isn't an endurance race, but it is a team race. They have got some good reputation in team racing. Although I don't believe either driver, I think they have Marcus Breach on that occasion. I don't think either of those drivers are racing for them for this series. So it is a brand new lineup for that T3 Esports team. EVOSR, they've had a good comeback actually. Mark Hutchinson's had some really good pace. Good to see him actually join on to EVOSR. He didn't drive with them last season, but he's a new driver for them. Very good recruit for EVOSR to pick up Mark Hutchinson, who was a debutant last season, but I think he got a couple of podiums. But he's up into 12th place despite an off near the start of his stint. He has been able to move up to that 12th position now, and are top of the EVOSR teams. You can see the Powell Crouch car in 19th place. The next highest EVOSR machine after the issues that we saw for the Salt McMahon car earlier on. By the way, that's a Salt car down to 29th position at the moment after their misdemeanors earlier on, even 30th position. There they are, battling with Emil Winberg for Kairos competition. He had a little bit of a mare yesterday at Alton Park in the Drive Faster League. It's he's currently running in 31st place. Finding speed, I've commentated 2 races of that championship, and it's finding speed, not whatever I said. Deary me. I wonder if you could go to the leaders, because it's still very close for the lead. Here it is. We've got 15 minutes to go, and in fact, actually, it might be worth even tuning in on 3rd position. The top 2 have increased their pace actually in recent laps, so they've actually started pulling away from the rest. AAA Esports are still quite quick, but they're no longer lapping much faster than the leaders, and they've also got quite a bit of traffic to deal with. Andy Shield has got to be overtaken then for AAA Esports, and I think AAA will be able to at least get past, but do you think they'll be able to break the job? Do you think they've got that pace advantage?
Well, this is one thing, you've got to make sure that if you are going to get past at places like Daytona, you've got to make sure that you have, you've got the pace to then, you've got the pace to actually then pull away, because you haven't really got that long. You've got, if you can get them in turn 1, you've got probably about, providing again traffic doesn't play a part, you've only got half a lap to try and break, well, let's be honest, it's 1.3 seconds, 1.4 seconds of draft. So realistically, that's probably not going to happen. So you've got to time your overtaking absolutely spot on if you want to ensure you're actually going to make that position. As I say that, it looks to be the move is going to be made into turn 1 for Amory, into this is going to be the battle of P3. He's moved up to P3, as you can see on the Delta on the right-hand side there. So he has moved up into P3. Not much of a battle there from Shield. I'm surprised. I thought that was going to be more of a battle. We see a car that has spun off. I'm not entirely sure who that was. That looked to be a bat marker for a Corvette that just won. That was Jason Guara, unfortunately, P34, the number 228 Ferrari. So yeah, unfortunately, he had, again, a little bit of a spin going into turn 1. So a bit of a problem there. So unfortunate for him, probably not in the position that he wanted to be for Simtech Racing. And again, we have said it before, turn 1 is such a tricky corner. It's a really, really tricky corner. You've got to make sure that you get the brake. You've got to make sure you get a braking position right. If you brake a fraction too late, you're carrying so much speed into turn one. If the wheels lock up, then it's either you understeer straight on into the barrier or you oversteer straight into the barrier. So, you know, you've got to be very, very careful going into. So as we see, this is again the battle that's still raging on between almost, what, 4 or 5, potentially even 6 cars here. So at the moment, your focus on the screen is Matty Chambers going to try and go around the outside into turn one of Gold City. He doesn't quite make the move stick, though. He's got to watch out for Holtz, because Holtz is going to try and want to find a way round as much as he can, or in a position that he can. He's moved up, so currently Matty Chambers in P19, but Holtz is bearing down. Gold City just having a little bit of a moment there. Avoided with his insect. Looks to be back that one all okay, but again, side by side going through. We've seen this as a carbon copy. What we've seen before, this is a bit of deja vu, but Chambers is not wanting to give this position up at all. Unfortunately, he is going to, but he has slotted back in. He doesn't want to drop another position to Holtz, so we may find as well that he's going to try and make that position move up there into potentially in the bus stop, again into turn one, like we have seen a number of times in this particular race. So really, really close racing again from these lot. It's really clean as well. You know, we keep saying it, but you want to be able to race fair. You know, you want to be able to race fair. You want to be able to race clean, because last thing you want to do is to have some contact. That's really not, obviously not anyone's game. We don't want that to happen. But these guys are absolutely some cracking racing. Some great commentating points for us. You know, we've got some amazing racing to commentate on, and it's also some amazing racing for everyone to watch over on the broadcast, isn't it, Sam?
Sorry, I just had to hold back laughing for a second. I thought you were going to say some great commentating and then not continue your point there, which I would completely agree with, because the commentating has been exceptional so far, but the racing has been exceptional as well, as you were saying. There's been a couple of bad incidents, hasn't there? But on the most part, you know, we've had these 5 cars bouncing for about 20 minutes, and they have kept it all together very impressively so far. You can see the iRacings. I mean, look at those iRacings from 18th to 25th or something. I mean, you've got 3K drivers, high 2K drivers, 5K driver there for SDK Sports. Really high quality field. Let's say anyone who is outside the top 20, don't think of them as being slow. You're doing well if you're in the top 30, because this is an exceptionally high quality order. And you can see how high quality it is at the front. The gap is up to 3/4 of a second. Back down to 6/10, so I think that was just Scrivens taking a slightly deeper line into the corner. Grabal staying well in touch. 11 minutes to go, and a little bit of Apex Racing, the GT history in American GT, which was around this circuit. For the final round of American GT, the championship came down to the run to the line. We had the GT3 championship at least, and we had Mike Horder and Scott Brazier go head to head, and it literally came down to the last. Whoever won the race won the championship, just with how the points worked. And and in the end it was Mike Horder who managed to get the run to the line and win the championship in spectacular fashion. I wonder if we'll see a similar finish here. What is going on with Fuga Sim Sports, who were very consistent? They have had an off seemingly. There they are. That's Grabson, who'd driven a very good stint to hold on to that 6th place, but he's lost out now to Benjamin Lescens, who was catching up to him. But you can see Grabson still had a bit of a gap behind. He will be kicking himself for this one. Yeah, he had that position in the bag, and just overcorrecting Bentley. It would have maybe been better if he just spun it, and then having to wait an absolute age to get back onto circuit, and there goes a couple of places.
Very unfortunate for Fuga there. But again, you know, I think it probably would be, it's even worse now, the fact there's not that long left in the race. So, you know, again, a bit of a shame there. A really, really bit of a big shame. I think one of the points I'd like to also touch as well, Sam, is obviously what we were talking about, you know, about making sure that, you know, if you're in the top 30, it's nothing to, you know, it's nothing to sniff about, because the field is so close. One of the reasons, to be fair, one of the reasons why the field is so close as well, is because of one of the sponsors we're running. So Apex Racing Academy, with all the setups that they provide. So they provide an incredible amount of setups, and having a good setup is imperative to making sure you actually, you're able to plug in some good lap times. So, Apex Racing Academy, they've got 29 data packs with, including the setups. They've got track guides, also integrated with the VRS telemetry as well. So, and for a series like this, with it being so close, it's almost, I wouldn't say it's required, but it's a massive tool that would really, really benefit any driver, to be fair, if I'm perfectly honest. With a field that is this close, I definitely feel that it would be needed going through here. So yeah, we've got a lot of drivers that are going to be running the Apex Racing Academy setups in this race. And again, we've seen some really, really close races and some incredible time. These are some really, really quick times. And I'm interested to see if these are actually going to be beaten in the actual Daytona 24 hours, which is going to happen in January of next year.
I think some of these teams will probably be in the top split when it comes to that. Some of the very high I-rated teams, as was a perfect vision. Were they letting past? Oh, they were letting past AAA Esports. There you go. That was why they lost out. But yeah, certainly, just letting past the lapped drivers. There is Emil Binbo as well. Almost a bit of contact between the two of them. You'll have to go the long way around, tight entry for the perfect vision car. Also, big thanks to SDK Gaming. If you like this overlay that you are seeing, you can have this exact overlay. We can do a lot of customization as well on the overlay, and it really enables us to kind of control what the team names are, which is really useful for a team race, because honestly, some of the teams done an awful job. You can see the numbers on; they're all maybe 3 digits. Some of the drivers can't even do a number. Let alone name their team correctly. So we can override that, and that's just one of the many uses of SDK Gaming. So if you're looking to do any broadcasting, or if you're just looking for a good heads-up display with a fuel calculator and all the info that you need, go to SDK Gaming. You can customize it so much. You can see from our Formula 3.5 series, which is a template that you can use, as there's a little bit of contact with the dent car. As that is more going off as well. You made that contact and then lost the car straight after. But yeah, go to sdkgaming.co.uk for all of that stuff, all that download. You also get a 2-week free trial as well, which I recommend testing out. Calvin Dent then up into 17th place despite that issue. Have we had a change for the leads? No, so that was just something that came up on our screen. I think anything happened there. It did highlight green for a second, but it's all okay. Did we see AAA Esports get past Pure Sims Esports? Not sure if we saw that one. That may have happened a lap ago, or it may have happened 5 laps ago. But anyway, that's a change for the 3rd position. 6 minutes to go though. And we get into the territory now of, do you want to be leading going on to the last lap? And if you were in either of these two teams, what would you be going for right now? What would be your ideal strategy from this point?
Oh, that's a very, very tricky one, isn't it? That's a very tricky one. Do you know what? Honestly, there are so many different variables. The main one of the biggest variables is probably the traffic. What is the traffic actually going to be like on the last lap? And it is probably the fact that we've only got 0.5 of a second. Actually, sorry, less than that. We've got 0.2 of a second between the top two. It goes to show this is still going to come down to the last lap. I genuinely think this will be a last lap sprint to the finish. Is it going to be based dependent on traffic? Is it going to be dependent on a mistake that someone makes? Honestly, we really have no idea. If it were me, I'd prefer to be in the Wild Animals car. I'd prefer to be in second at this point. It sounds a little bit odd, but I do prefer. So we've got Dylan furiously flashing one of the back markers. That is Theoman currently in E40. Yeah, I think, if I'm honest, we got held up a little bit there, but we have Grubber might get held up a little bit. No, to be fair, again, pretty clean going through that. It's how you manage the traffic as well, which is also a big point to have. Yeah, I'd rather be in second at this point. I've been in this situation before in a sort of in an endurance race. I always prefer to be in second because I feel that I can manage the traffic better. It's really quite weird if you can sit close enough to the driver, which at the moment, obviously, the gap's about half a second. So realistically, that's probably the maximum sort of gap that you want. Once the driver in front of you has made that gap going through and passing a slower car, 9 times out of 10, you can just follow them through. So the driver at the front, leading the way, has done all of the hard work for you. All you need to do is just go, thank you very much, and just crack on and obviously move through with the gap that's already been made. As we see, that was a big crash. That's Calvin Dent in the 676 Corvette. Huge shunt. It looks to be potentially he's had some contact with Lucas Deering. He's had an off as well going through on the exit of the bus stop. Hopefully we can get a replay of that. That was a nasty shunt. And I think the Corvette of Dent's car is absolutely done. We do have a replay here. So going through the bus stop. And I think, again, just tapped a wheel on the grass. Oh, that was very, very close. Unfortunately, it was a BMW. I can't see. I don't know. That was a massive, massive incident there. I'm not entirely sure the BM was. That was Steve Brown of the 66 BMW that was unfortunately the instigator of that accident there. So Calvin Dent was a complete passenger, as well as Lucas Deering was, I think, in that sense. So a big, big shame for both of those guys. Yeah, it just looked to be... yeah, that was a really, really big shame. There was a couple of bits and pieces that probably went wrong there. But yeah, real shame from those guys. We're now just going to jump back to your main screen now with Dylan currently as the focus point. So yeah, I think at the moment, I think Grabbo's got the advantage, providing he can stay with him and providing traffic is maybe a little bit in luck in his favour. I think this is going to potentially go down to a sprint to the finish outside of the bus stop. I really think it's going to be that close.
So we have got one more lap to go after this one. One more lap to go after this one. You can see they found the only empty space on the track. So traffic probably won't feature in this one, which will be a disadvantage to the leader. Because if you're leading, then the dream scenario would be that on the run to the line that you get a nice tow from the car ahead. That's not going to happen. They've got the 24th place car of Lucas Deering for Team Esports. So as long as Deering isn't carrying any damage, might be carrying a bit of damage Deering. I don't think they'll catch him before the end of the race, however. It's also pretty, no, is it that close for same place? No, it's pretty separated from the place. I think she was struggling a little bit, but still would be a good result if you spit as here comes Wild Animals. Are they going to go for the lead as we move on to the last lap of the race in this opening round of the Apex Racing League GT Team Championship? The Porsche goes the long way round. He wants the lead straight away here, but he runs in too deep, and that could be the race decided. But it wasn't a very good run for Maniti either, and the gap is 0.7 of a second. This could still be salvageable right here, but that was a massive mistake, and I think a bit too over-aggressive. I'm not sure why you would risk it going around the outside at turn 1 when you got the bus stop coming up later on.
No, it's very true. I think that was a big shame from Artem there. I think maybe just a bit over-eager. What he may have been trying to do is actually putting Dylan in a position where he had to go on the defensive line. He wasn't actually going to try and make the move, but to try and, again, sort of just put him off a little bit, to try and place his car in a position where he's not going to make the move, but also placing him in a position where he's going to have to be, wary of, is there going to be a move made? And so that may put him off a little bit, and that may cause him to obviously go defensive, which I believe he did ever so slightly. So no, unfortunately, I think as long as we've got Dylan, as long as he gets through the bus stop, all okay. I think that is unfortunately it. So the gap is 0.6 of a second. He is going to get a tow. Is it going to be enough? That's half a second he's got to make up. If he gets a very, very clean run, he may very well do it. Although, to be fair, it seems to me he's caught up a little bit. He caught up a little bit on the mid-corner. He actually dropped back again. So I think Artem Grabber, he unfortunately in turn 1, he has caused that position. He is catching up now. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you can see the delta. It is now half a second. Unfortunately, it is not going to be enough. And as Dylan is about to cross the line and takes the win for Maniti Racing in the ARL GT Team Championship. What a fantastic drive from both of those guys, fighting pretty much until the end. That was absolutely incredible racing after an hour and 20 minutes, wasn't it, Sam? That was fantastic.
It sure was. In third position is AAA Esports with a very good second stint for Amri Bonjour. ends up in third position. You'll be pleased about that. On top of the amateur drivers, we're going to have to wait a little bit of a while for the top of the amateur drivers. Now going through NASCAR 3 and 4, to be fair, it's going to be DRS Wave Italy GTE. And their status will be reviewed through a combination of factors, but they have done a brilliant job. They are in 9th position. Congratulations to that team. Pacific Sim Sports pole sitters round out the top 10. But yeah, it was just that small mistake from Grabau. Seemed to have an equal amount of pace to Scrivens, but couldn't quite keep it all together on that last lap. Elsewhere, Chambers is going up against Razaholics right now. I believe that's not Eric O'Connor right on his head. That is Matthias Beer, the German Austin Powers, onto the back of his rear wing and then pulls out. Can the BMW? Oh, we got a crash right at the end of the race. Can the Fuga car get through? Yes, he can. And I'm not sure who came across on who there. Chambers trying to get out of the circuit. Can he get to the line under his own steam? I don't think he's going to make it. I don't think that engine has got any more drive in it. And Chambers will finish 1 lap down. Fortunately, there are many drivers who were 1 lap down, so he'll only drop about 6 places. That is a shame for him. Go Around Racing Team needs to try to reach the finish. He has got 40 seconds to get to the line. And he should be able to make that. It's totally flat. In fact, he's going into the pit lane, which might be a smart thing to do because it's a slightly shorter run. Just make sure that he doesn't go into his pit box. Here comes Pinos. This would get him ahead of Evo SR if he can make it. Does he reach the line? No, he's braking. What's he doing? Oh no, he's got to the checker flag. Thank goodness that. He's just about got to the checker flag. And Go Around Racing Team will finish in 23rd position. And yeah, after 49 laps, that is how it all finishes. And hopefully, I thought they might do a few donuts on the grass there, but seems not. A few drivers doing formation finishes on the in-lap into the pits. And so this round 1 of the Apex Racing League GT Team Championship at Daytona, we can go through the final results, and it's a full 64 points for Manatee Racing, then who win out by 0.4 of a second over Wild Animals. Who knows who would have won out? I think Manatee would have still had the advantage, even if Wild Animals hadn't made a mistake, but it's tricky to tell. They are the top 2 teams. So AAA Esports finished in 3rd place, 14 seconds back in the end. Pure Sims Esports finished in 4th place, and it was Vulcan Sim Racing. AAA Project X, who were very quick in the second half of the race, up 10 places from their start. Michael Diaz for 3 guys, no team, in 7th. And then it was Fuga Sim Sports. Mats Grabson had a spin, probably lost them a couple of positions. DRS Wave Italy GTE were top of the amateur teams, and Pacific Sim Motorsport, after that early slowdown, never recovered, finished in 10th. Then it was German Sim Racing, Evo SR number 173. Then it was Valkyrie Esports, Kairos Competition, M Science Immortal, Fuga Sim Sports, Performance Link Esports. Then it was Fuga Sim Sports, RLR Abruzzi Esports in 19th, WS Racing Esports in 20th, Razaholics finished in 21st. Then it was T3 Esports, Go Around Racing Team, Evo SR, that's the Matthew Chambers Iron Pal machine, in 24th, of course having that crash right at the end of the race. Then it was Ignium Motorsports, Pro Academy Simsport, Pure Sims Free, Evo SR, James Salt and Tom McMahon, who were running in the top 5 much of the race, but they crashed out. Pro Academy Simsports, Vulcan Sim Racing, Perfect Vision Racing, Ignium Motorsport, Kairos Competition, Pro Academy Simsport, Simtech Racing, VVR Racing, Fuga Simsports, Indie Autosports, Eclipse Racing Team, Fit Fura Racing, Indie Autosports, Vulcan Sim Racing, Scale Freak, XP Motorsports, SCS Motorsports, who were 2 laps down and will score points. However, the teams who are 3 laps down, which was Indie Autosports 626 and PND Racing 282, will not score points, even though they did take the checker flag. Project Dynamic and Indie Autosports will also not score points because they retired from the race. Thinking about it, actually, to be fair, Indy Autosports and PND Racing were outside the top 45, only the top 45 get points anyway. So I don't know if that's like nicer for them. I don't know. We will have a chat. Where's all the drivers gone? We've only got one driver at the moment, but we'll happily have a chat with him. It's EJ O'Donnell Lines in for a chat with us, who is one of the Kairos competition drivers. EJ, congratulations out there. Talk us through your race.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we had a really good race. Had a good first lap. Started, I think, like 16th place, somewhere around there. And yeah, second in the AM class. So we were really happy with our result in qualifying. Had a good first lap. Made a couple of positions up, and then just kind of kept it easy and safe for the rest of the race. Couple mistakes out there, but nothing big, just like lockups, that type of stuff. So it was really good.
Absolutely. We saw a lot of teams have issues out there, kind of spins, particularly down at turn 1. Did you find the car was a bit leery around the circuit? I mean, you have to unveil it to a wing out there. Were you struggling slightly in that, or were you able to dial the car in and make it quite comfortable to drive?
We had a pretty comfortable setup. We dialed it in fairly well. And then, yeah, I mean, turn 1's always tricky here. It's so easy to lock up and drive too deep, or sometimes you'll get on the brakes just a hair earlier than you should, and somebody will throw it up the inside. So definitely tricky, definitely low grip circuit right now too. For some reason, it was really slick session. So, but yeah, we coped well. We had a pretty comfortable setup, so it wasn't too bad for us, really.
And going into the next few rounds, we've got Spa, Suzuka, and Silverstone. Out of those meetings, which ones are you looking forward to most?
I love racing in Spa, so I'm really looking forward to that one. Suzuka can be really tricky in a GTE, so I think we'll kind of see a lot of the guys that are typically better will really shine there compared to somewhere like Daytona, where a lot of the AM guys can be just as quick with the draft as the guys that are pros.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us tonight, EJ, and well done on your second position in the amateur category. Is there one you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Shout out just to ARTV for putting together the broadcast. It's awesome having you guys on board, and can't wait to watch the broadcast back. And then just thanks to Kairos and all the guys over there helping with setups and driving and all that stuff. It's been an awesome team to be a part of.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, EJ, and we will see you back in 1 week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
EJ O'Donnell Lines there for Kairos competition, 238 car. Daniel, we've got a couple of drivers who are waiting to have a chat. Who would you like to have a chat with?
Oh, let's have a chat with a fellow Daniel, shall we? Let's if we can pull Daniel in, that would be fantastic. I'd love to have a chat with him. And we have indeed. Daniel, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, really good. Could have been a little bit better, but on all counts, that was really clean from our point of view. We're happy.
Good stuff. Well, that's the main thing. At the end of the day, if you're happy, that is the main thing indeed. So I think one of the questions, and I'm probably going to be, I normally do ask this at the end of a race. I'd love to know, and I love having that sort of insight. Is what was the initial plan going actually into the race for the first round?
We all expected the beginning of a race to be a lot messier than it was. I'm not sure what was happening behind, but as we started in the mid-pack, we expected there to be some destruction. So the fast repair was on standby. We were braced to have to come in early and do that if needed, but no, it was so super clean. Credit to the grid for making it around lap 1 like that. Having said that, I've not seen the broadcast, so I don't know if anybody caused a mass exodus into the grass or whatever behind, but from our point of view, that need went out the window. Then it was just a case of try and get the pace down, try and keep the top trainer drivers, which we did for a while, but got collected by someone spinning out in front of us. That gave us a crumpled bonnet. So then, really speaking, we had to tuck in behind somebody's behind somebody's tail just to keep on the pace. And that was a long 20 minutes between when that incident happened and the fast repair could be taken. Bit of a shame, because I think with that we could have overtaken some cars, but with the damage that was just not happening. So we just had to stay where we were and then let Dean take over with a clean car in the pit.
No, absolutely no problem. So to be fair, again, it was very well managed with the damage. You know, managing a race like that and for managing it also as well for 20 minutes. Very, very impressive indeed. So no, well done for that. One thing I'd like to there were a few incidents to be fair throughout the race. One of the problems that we did find, or one of the problem corners that we found, was actually turn 1. Was that something that you felt with yourself as well, or was it a different part of the track that maybe was a bit more challenging than, you know, with the track temps and everything? But yeah, a lot of people seem to be struggling through turn 1.
There was a lot of struggling. I'd agree with that. I think people might have been a bit spoilt by conditions in practice sessions. I think the track was a little bit slippier than they might have been accustomed to, but we like to practice on hot tracks so it doesn't catch us out. Turn 1 was our best mate. It really, really was. We love turn 1. I love it. I always seem to get that one nailed. If anybody's going to make a mistake, I'm going to take advantage of that. And there was a couple of times when I could do that, but because of the aforementioned damage, couldn't make it stick. I mean, I think we came home in 15th in the end. It should really have been a top 10 if we hadn't have had the damage, but you just got to make the best of it, and I think we did that. But yeah, the track was pretty slippy out there, and there was a lot of puffs of smoke, people locking brakes. The guy that finished in front of Dean at the end, Kevin Finn, he did well to hang on to it, but there was the odd puff of smoke we saw, and that was like smelling a kill. Another couple of laps, we could have made it work and nabbed 14th, but fun all round.
No, great stuff. No, very, very well done indeed. Before we wrap up, anyone you would like to give a shout out to?
Term Signs and Simortal Models, they're on with us in this mini series. Most of all, though, to you guys and the admins for putting this together. Such a big grid, massive grid. It's probably not easy getting a spreadsheet together to handle all of that. So at this point, I want to give credit to admins for getting it on show. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Take care, Dan. We'll look forward to seeing you next time out.
Thanks a lot.
And that was Daniel Lee there for M-Signs Simortal Racing there. Really, really good. Some enthusiasm, wasn't it? There was some good enthusiasm there. It was definitely an enjoyable race for them by the sounds of it, all things considered.
Yeah, Daniel, very enthusiastic person. Also, notorious rebel with the way he makes his tea and toast. And you can see how he makes his tea and toast on his YouTube channel. Maverick, absolute maniac is that guy. Sorry, no one knows what I'm talking about, but trust me, if you check it out, you've never seen anything like it in your life. We are going to have a chat with our race winner tonight, or one of our race winners, one of the drivers for the race winning team, Manatee Racing, and we have got Dylan Scrivens in the commentary box with us. Congratulations, Dylan. I feel quite smug because earlier on in the week, there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm doing this time," or that team looks strong, and I was like, "Wait till you see Manatee Racing," and you have proven me right. So thank you for that.
That's, well, evening first. It's a nice compliment, I guess. Considering the amount of time put in, I think it was, it's a pretty good result.
Of course, you guys are new to the championship. I mean, how did you find out about the series? What convinced you to join?
Mainly a friend just popped it up in the team chat and was like, "Hey, it seems like something fun to do. I got the time." I needed to learn the Corvette because I haven't really got to grips with it yet, so I thought, could be good fun. Considering there's not much going on in the end of November and December,
Yeah, absolutely. And then, talk us through the race, because it started off pretty well for you guys. You led for most of the race, dare I say, or maybe you're following behind in the first stint. I mean, how much of a concern was fuel for you? Because I think you were leading for that first stint. Were you pushing it on fuel at the end of the race?
Fuel was not a concern at all, considering the driver swap time meant we could put full tank and it still wouldn't make the difference. if you think the driver stops 20 seconds and fuel for 60 liters is 15 and 70 liters is 19, it doesn't make a difference.
Right,
If that makes any sense.
Well, that is interesting to note for the future rounds, certainly. And then the end of the race. Were you a little bit concerned that you were going to get got on the final lap? You led going on to that final lap of the race, but Artem was properly close. Did you think that leading, coming out of the bus stop, was the place to be? Or, yeah, what was your thinking towards that?
Yes, for sure, because we went for a slightly higher downforce car. And I knew we had to be ahead. But we needed, I think, out of the infield, we needed like 6 or 7, and we had 8. So it was more than enough.
Awesome. Well, best of luck for the rest of the championship. You've certainly made yourself the favorite for the title. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, Alex for carrying the setup work completely. Considering I had sports car open yesterday, I put all my effort into that, and it paid off there, and it's paid off here. So
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Dylan, and best of luck for next week.
cheers.
Dylan Scrivens there for Manatee Racing, your race winners for tonight. Daniel, I think we should be able to get one more interview in before we wrap up.
Awesome, no worries. Well, I think we'll bring Kenny Rusin. He's been waiting in the comms box for a while, so we'll just bring him now. Kenny, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Was a pretty decent race. A bit disappointed for the result, but overall was a good race and a good fun.
Good. Well, that's the main thing at the end of the day. The main thing is obviously we enjoyed it. We had some good experience. Going into the race, what was the thought process? Was it just a simple of we need to finish, or was it was there a target that was set for you guys? Like, what was the general sort of target set for?
Well, for both AAA, the target was to win, but yeah, I choked a bit the quali. So after the start, I was only P11, and when I managed to get in P3, they were already 12 seconds ahead, so it was impossible to catch them. Sadly.
No, that's fair enough. Well, I mean, to be fair, no, yeah, very good result as well. One of the things I've actually asked, I asked this previously with someone that we were interviewing, and we were talking about it over the race as well. Was there anything was fuel management actually quite a big factor? Were you able to save quite a lot of fuel? Was that something that was going to be on your radar straight from the word go, or was that something that developed over time?
Yeah, I managed to save a lot of fuel, but after my stint, I spoke a bit with Alexander from Manatee, and he told me there was no point saving fuel because of the driver swap. So yeah, I think I saved 8 liters, but yeah, was useless finally. So yeah, but at least I know for the second round.
Well, exactly, absolutely. No, at the end of the day, learning's always good. We always take the information that you can. No, fantastic stuff. Before we wrap up, though, anyone you would like to give a shout out to this evening?
Yeah, I would like to thanks AAA people, everyone in the team for helping us and give me the opportunity to race. And yeah, congrats to Manatee for the win, and to Dimitri Artem for the second place.
Brilliant. No, fantastic stuff. Well, Kenny, it's been a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you next week. And look forward to also catching up with you potentially after the race next week as well.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Cheers. Take care. And that was Kenny Rusin there for that was AAA Esports then. Currently, they were finished in P12, actually. So good result from them.
Yes, it was a very good effort from them and most of the teams as well. The next round of the championship, is it Spa or is it Silverstone? It is Silverstone, the next round of the championship. One of my favourite circuits. I think we're a bit biased in the commentary box because it is the home of British motorsports, of course. Always has very good racing, I'd say, in iRacing in particular. Has got that circuit. Do you think we're going to see a very similar order next week, Daniel? Or do you think there's going to be some teams who perhaps didn't perform great today who will be able to rise up for round 2 of the season?
Well, I think, It's difficult. There's two ways to look at it. Silverstone is a very, very different track. It's a place where, draft is not going to be something that, a big draft is not going to play that much of an advantage. I think what we actually might find is we could potentially find people that who were really able to keep with the pace at the moment may not be, and some teams may not potentially be as quick actually going through this, because if you can't really latch onto someone and for them to pull you on for a portion of the lap, it can be a little bit difficult to then actually keep with them going through the corner. So that's going to be something interesting to play. Interesting to see how that pans out. I mean, to be honest, until I think we're about an hour's, halfway through the race of round 2. Again, it's so close, and it was so close in qualifying. It's one of those things where I don't think we're really going to know. It's probably going to be similar. I'm sure there's going to be the people that are at the top are going to be at the top, definitely. But a 10th, as we found, a 10th was 3 places in qualifying. So, who knows? It may even be closer at Silverstone.
Yeah, perhaps so. Hopefully it is. I mean, that qualifying session was absolutely crazy. And the race as well. Coming down to the last lap of the event really does put in store some fantastic action to come up in the Apex Racing League GT Team Championship. And with only 4 rounds and no drop scores, each race is absolutely important, and so the fact that Manatee have managed to get that first race win of the season is really fundamental. But there's plenty more hazards to come up later on in the season. Silverstone, Spa, and Suzuka to round out the championship. We will be back with you on Apex Racing TV for the next round of the championship next Sunday at the same time. If you've enjoyed this stream, please do leave a like on the video, and also subscribe as well to Apex Racing TV, because we've got loads more action coming up. We've got single seater racing, we've got more GT racing, we've got prototypes, we've got oval racing as well, and we've got races in the Australian time zones, the American time zones, and the European as well. We're doing a lot of broadcasts at the moment, and might even have a few more as well over the course of particularly in the new year in January and February. So subscribe to Apex Racing TV. I am sure you will not regret it. But for now, from me, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Daniel Handover, and from Sam Kumo, we are going to say goodbye, and we'll see you for round 2 of the championship at Silverstone. See you then.